Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today we find ourselves in a mysterious forest inexplicitly warped by dark magic. Now you'll secretly either be a villager or one of the Forsaken, trying to get to your team's destination before the other team or eliminate enough of the other team's members. Forsaken Forest is a game of deception, deduction, and strategy for 4 to 12 players and plays in 20 to 60 minutes, and it's on Kickstarter right now. So I'm going to give you an overview of the gameplay to help you understand it a little bit more, and then I'll see you on the other side. This is a Kickstarter preview, so all the art and components you see here are prototype. You will want to check the final Kickstarter page, which is in the link of the description of this video, to see all the final components and art. The game plays between 4 and 12 players. Here I have a 6-player game set up. At the beginning of the game, each player is going to get a secret role card that only they will be looking at. And there's basically two teams. You have the Forsaken side and you have the Villagers side. Now the amount of each of these cards will depend on the amount of players, and you can actually self-balance it if you like for your group. Now over the course of the game, players are going to be forging paths to some of these different destinations on the outer ring of the forest. Now the village team will win by forging paths and finding the village, or by eliminating all of the Forsaken players. Where the Forsaken side wins by being able to forge a path to the void, or by eliminating enough of the villagers so there's at least an equal amount of Forsaken with villagers. Now at the beginning of the game, face up on the board are 6 destination cards that say dead end. One that has the void, which is where the Forsaken is trying to get. It has a red ring, and the village has the green ring where the village is trying to get. Now, the Forsaken, everyone's going to close their eyes, and the Forsaken players are going to be able to open their eyes and see each other. And at this point, those players are going to be able to select these, which ones they want to go into which destination spot on the board face down. And so during that time where everyone's eyes are closed except the Forsaken, they are placing them face down in the different destinations and knowing where the void and where the village is. And that aspect of the game is night 1. And then we go to day 1, where players are going to start taking turns. Now the way the turn cycle works in this game, there's going to be 6 player turns, and then there's going to be a forest card dealt. Sometimes you'll go to the night after that, other times you'll be going right back into the turn. So this is sort of a variable turn cycle that we'll go over in a little bit more detail. So let's say it's the first player's turn. So at the beginning of the game, everyone was given 3 cards. At the beginning of this first day phase, everyone can pick up their cards. Now, for the first player, they're also going to draw a card off the top of the deck, and then they are going to play a card. Now let's say in this case, they play this card, which is a wander card, and it's going to forge a path. Now when the first path is forged, it's in the center of the forest. And as subsequent players forge paths, it has to at least be touching one other path. So as long as it is touching, you're creating a network of paths over the course of the game. Some cards allow you to forge more than one path. This one says forge up to 3 paths, but none of them can be touching each other. And as each player takes their turn drawing their card and playing their actions, this is going to be tracked through those players. Now once it gets to the forest turn, we'll go to the forest deck and draw a card. Now when that card is drawn, one of 2 things can happen. Either it's going to be an forest action, which is usually something bad for everyone. Every player discards all but 1 card from their hand. And if that happens, then this goes back to 1, and you continue taking turns in clockwise order like that. Or it might be another bad action, like as long as this card remains in play, players may not speak. But many of the times, it's going to say darkness, and at this end of the turn, you would go to the night phase. Now there are some cards that you can use to stop that forest from doing its thing. For example, on your turn you could have played this slow action card to forbid the forest from taking its next turn, and then it would simply wrap around to the first player again. Now fast action cards we haven't talked about yet, but those can be played on your turn or off of your turn. When it's other players' turns or during, like you're doing the forest here, you could forbid the card of your choice. So you could play this out of turn to forbid that darkness from happening and going to the night phase. So when it goes to that night phase, everyone's going to close their eyes, and the Forsaken are going to open their eyes. They're going to take this night action card called Ritual Sacrifice, and they're going to place it on any one of the player's role cards right on top of it like that. And then everybody's going to open their eyes. You're going to see who might be, basically the person that has this is now on death's doorstep. At that point, people can try to save this player by playing a card like this, a revival card where it says revive a player who's on death's doorstep. Now, you can't do that on yourself, but if someone's able to do that, they save that player. Otherwise, that player is dead and eliminated from the game. So then you'll start the day turn again, going through the 6-player turns, doing a forest turn, and then possibly either going to night or starting another cycle like that. And this continues until one of the victory conditions is met, as mentioned at the beginning of the game. How you actually get to any destination in the game is once a path is forged to any one of these red squares, you flip over the destination that is in there, and it will say either dead end, or the void, or the village, and those win conditions that I mentioned at the beginning of the game hold true. If they get to the void, the Forsaken win. If they get to the village, the villagers win. Now there's different types of cards denoted by the icon in the upper left, and let's just go through some of these. So this is a weapon, and this would allow you to, it's a fast action, which means you can play it out of turn, and you could choose a player, and that player is now on death's doorstep, which we already kind of went over. You would need to revive them, or they're dead. We have this type, which is an alliance card. You could choose a player, and that player peeks at your roll card, so you get to see if you're telling the truth or what have you. Another type of this is you could choose a player and whisper a message to that player, and then draw a card. And another alliance card, you could choose a destination, and that player of your choice peeks at that destination. And of course, destinations are the cards that you're trying to get to see if you can win. The insight cards, this one allows you to draw 2 cards, then discard any, and then you can take an additional action this turn. These are known as the resistance. So we've already gone over some of these where you can forbid the card of your choice or destroy a card or path of your choice. You could refuse to follow, which is forbidding the navigation card to be played. So someone might play one of these navigation cards, which normally would allow them to forge a path, but this could forbid that from happening, or you could destroy the path of your choice. Here we have Discovery. This one allows you to peek at the destination card. Of course, those are the cards that you're trying to get to possibly win the game. We have another Insight here, so choose up to 2 other players. You and the chosen player each draw a card, and then you could take an additional action. Then we have this, which is Betrayal. You could choose a player. That player may not speak during the turn cycle, and then draw a card. And then we have this, which is Suspicion, and you could choose a player and send that player to the gallows. Now this card is put in front of somebody's roll card, which we don't know what it is, and this player is now accused. This player is trying to say why they're innocent. Maybe they're pointing out the actions they've taken or what they've done in the game, and they're trying to say that they're innocent. Now, up to 3 players can ask this one questions. Players would raise their hands, and this player can point to people and have them ask questions, and then they answer. Once all this has been done and the accused has sort of had their say, people vote with either a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Essentially, thumbs up is, hey, you want them to live. Thumbs down is you want them to possibly be on death's doorstep. If there's a majority of thumbs down, they go on death's doorstep, which means if nobody revives them, they are out of the game. Now on the board, there's also these yellow squares, and those are excavation sites. Now, if you go there, they kind of make you go out of your way, but if you do go there, you get to flip a card from the artifact deck because you find an artifact. And there could be all different things that happen. Like, for example, you could forbid the forest from taking an next turn, or choose a player and peek at that player's roll card, or forge a path on the excavation site parallel to this one, the one sort of say over here. It's basically a secret tunnel, or maybe even peek at the destination card of your choice. So they give you some powerful actions to do once you go there. Now, at the beginning of the game, we showed you the roll cards of the Forsaken and the villagers as the common folk. But there's actually additional roles that you can play with the game, and they give each of the roles special abilities, and they do different things. It also allows you to help you balance and fine-tune the game a little bit when you're setting up. For example, the navigator at the beginning of the game gets to secretly look at the destination card of their choice and see what's there. Then each subsequent night, he also gets to secretly look at the different destination cards, so he'll be helping navigating where they want to go. Now the Oracle, starting on the 2nd night and every night after that, gets to peek and secretly look at any roll card of any player. That gives them a lot of powerful information about who that is. The Priest, on each night after the first one, he gets to place this very special card. It is the Shelter from Evil. He places it face down on the hands of any cards of the players that they want. And then, during that night phase, if the Forsaken tried to do a ritual sacrifice on this player, well, this player will be protected from that. Now the Cursed is actually a double-sided roll card. If you play with this, all the roll cards must be sleeved. It has the normal villager, the Cursed on one side, and a Forsaken on the other side. At the end of night 1, the Cursed must flip this to the Forsaken side, and then when another player peeks at their roll card, all they see is the Forsaken side. But even though this player really is a villager, but they're disadvantaged because essentially they're a liability of the villager team, but they still win if the villager team wins. Now the Blessed roll, only during the day, if they're put on death's doorstep, they basically reveal their roll card face up like this so everyone can see it and is instantly revived, but after that, she's just as vulnerable as everyone else, and of course this doesn't help her at night either. Now the coward is an interesting role because at night on the first night, when the Forsaken players get to look at each other, after that everyone's eyes are closed, and the players who have the normal Forsaken cards, they are all going to raise their hand up. And so this player will get to see who the Forsaken are, but they don't know who this player is. So the coward wins the game along if the Forsaken win, but then them themselves are not Forsaken when you talk about how many players there are left for endgame conditions. Now the Shrouded card works the same way as the Curse card, where it means they have to be sleeved, they're double-sided, and they flip it over so when people peek they think they're a villager, but they're really not. Now the Silencer will at night, every night, take their night action card called the Entangle, and they're going to put it face down on any player's cards. And when they do that, when this player wakes up, they cannot talk till the next cycle. And they also wake up in the first night and see where the destination cards go and help with that. And in night 2 and so on, they also help decide who is sacrificed. Well, I hope this helped you get a good understanding of Forsaken Forest. Now, as you can see, it's a social deduction game that can be balanced to fit your group's preferences, using different amounts of villagers, Forsaken, and the different roles to choose from. Now also, it's not just a he said, she said social deduction game, since the tactical card play has a huge bearing on what to deduce from people's actions. Now this is on Kickstarter right now, and I've placed a link below me in the description of this video. Now you can click right on that link to be brought directly to the project page where you can see more details, especially all the final art and components, and possibly even make a pledge for the game, and I'm sure the creators of Forsaken Forest would love your support.